Hi there. As many of you know, I spend a lot of time reading the news and avidly following politics, particularly this year's election. We're now in the final weeks of an incredibly important election, and I'm both excited and terribly anxious about it all. So I've decided to do a series of videos about different topics related to the election to help inform and engage others, and honestly, to relieve some of my anxiety by sharing my own thoughts and opinions. I'm calling this series the 2020 Rundown, where in a few short minutes, I'll provide brief news and information about the 2020 election. The purpose of these videos is threefold: to help you stay informed, to enable you to get more engaged in this year's election, and to create content that you can share with your own networks. Each video will tackle a topic, issue, policy, or important news pertaining to this year's election and break it down to the essentials that you need to know. I'll release a couple of videos a week, depending on how this goes, and I'll pick topics that seem pertinent at the time. If there's ever any topic you want to see discussed or explained here, just leave a comment below. In this video, which will be a little longer, I'm going to look at the current state of the race as we head into the final weeks of the campaign. So now, here's the 2020 rundown, state of the race. Despite the ups and downs of the Trump presidency and the COVID pandemic, polling for the presidential race has been fairly steady, with Joe Biden maintaining a 7 or 8 point lead since early this year. This is unusual, and while polls aren't usually predictive, the steadiness here is indicative of where the electorate stands. People have made up their minds about Trump. You either love him, hate him, or don't like him, but don't mind him either. Unlike in 2016, where upwards of 15% of voters were undecided into the final weeks of the election, this year less than 5% are undecided. Polling about tonight's first presidential debate has shown that while 74% of voters plan on watching the debate, only 3% said it was very likely that something they saw would change their vote. Even Trump's approval rating, a key indicator for the success of an incumbent, has been very steady, hovering between 37 and 44% since the start of his presidency, with only about 4% of people who neither approve nor disapprove of his performance. People know who Trump is. They know he's not nice or decent, that he's corrupt and abuses his power, that he's selfish and incompetent. What they don't know is who Joe Biden is beyond being Obama's VP or what his positions are. Many undecided or potential voters aren't very engaged in the election, and they don't know what Biden's plans are or what his administration would look like. In fact, polling suggests that while negative messages about Trump can persuade them to vote for Biden, positive messages about Biden's plans and what he will do in office are more effective in persuading these voters. The party conventions last month gave us a preview of each candidate's vision and message and which voters they will try to court. The Democratic Convention tried to motivate two groups: swing voters and non-voters, those who don't normally vote or registered voters who are thinking of sitting this one out. They spoke of Biden's compassion and decency as a contrast to Trump. They highlighted certain issues and how a Biden presidency would handle them, like the pandemic, the economy, police brutality, and climate change. To expand their base of support, they invited Republicans to speak in order to create a sort of permission structure for other non-Democrats to vote for Biden. And they offered harsh critiques of Trump's incompetence and warnings of a breakdown of democracy should he win re-election. Republicans, on the other hand, promised a positive vision for the future, but instead complained about the current state of things under Trump and said things would only get better if we re-elect him. They decided not to have a party platform and instead pledged loyalty to Trump. They presented no policies or plans for a second term and instead told Americans to fear a Biden presidency, spewing lies each and every night of the convention. To top it all off, they violated federal law by using government resources to campaign, putting their corruption and their disdain for the law front and center. Whereas Democrats had a vision for the future and tried to motivate voters and reach out to new voters, the Republican convention was all about energizing their base with fear and contradictions about a Biden presidency. As Dan Rather said, quote, "The Trump re-election strategy seems to be to argue that only Donald Trump can save America from Donald Trump's America." While Trump got a very small, very temporary bump in his favorability ratings from the convention, he has remained at about 40 to 44% favorable, with 52 to 57% unfavorable. Biden, on the other hand, improved after the Democratic convention, moving from 40% favorable to 45% favorable, with around 44% unfavorable. In general, he has a positive favorability rating. This tells us two things. One, that the more people get to know Biden and his plans, the better he does. And two, that there is still about 10% who have not made up their minds about Biden. The race tightened slightly after the convention, which was to be expected given the high level of anti-partisanship these days. Some of the Republicans who have soured on Trump are going to slowly go back to their party out of disdain for the Democrats. But overall, Biden has maintained his lead of around 7% nationally and about 4% in the battleground states. Trump's mishandling of the pandemic and the resulting economic collapse have turned many voters against him, and Biden is seen as someone who can turn things around. Now, I say all that with cautious optimism. Democrats were burned badly in the last election, and we're still suffering from the PTSD of election night 2016. But while we're having that deja vu of the 2016 race, there are some things that are different this time around. For one thing, there are far fewer undecideds in this race, so there are fewer people who will surprise us by choosing a candidate at the last minute. Not to say people can't change their minds, but we have a better sense of where things stand because more people have already made a choice. Second, Trump is the incumbent, so he has a record against which we can hold him accountable. On everything from healthcare to police brutality to the environment to immigration, we can contradict his claims of, I have the best plan for that, with what he's actually done while in office. Third, whereas Clinton was as equally disliked as Trump, Biden has positive favorability, and he is consistently a little higher than Clinton was in the polls at this point. Also, Biden's hitting 50% in some polls, which means Trump will not only have to win over the few undecideds, but he'll also have to recruit new voters and try to even pull some from Biden if he wants to beat him, which is a heavy lift. The story was different in 2016 when Clinton was up 45 to 40 and 15% were undecided and up for grabs. Because of Biden's strong lead, there are more battlegrounds this time around, which means more opportunities for Biden to reach the 270 electoral votes he'll need to win. It also means that Biden can be competitive in states that went to Trump last time, forcing Trump to play defense and thereby limiting his ability to play offense. In fact, Biden is now outspending Trump in TV advertising in the final weeks, and Trump has pulled back in a few battleground states, including Michigan and Pennsylvania, two states that were crucial to his win in 2016. The bottom line, Trump is playing defense, but it doesn't mean he can't or won't win. Trump still has the advantage with the Electoral College, given that a number of states will be giving their votes to whomever the Republican is. And as with 2016, he just has to eke out a small margin of victory in a few key states, and he's clinched the 270 votes he needs. Plus, Biden may be outspending Trump in TV ads, but Trump has the media's attention constantly. He basically sets the media's agenda from hour to hour and gets free and extensive coverage whenever he speaks or even tweets. Also, Trump had a huge head start on campaigning, and his digital advertising and recruitment machine from 2016 never stopped, growing and energizing his base for the past 4 years. And Trump may have a clear ceiling on his support, but his base of support is really enthusiastic. More enthusiastic about voting for him than Dems are about voting for Biden, which could affect actual turnout, especially during a pandemic when people are nervous about going to the polls or think requesting a mail-in ballot is too much effort. It's not, by the way. And not only is the pandemic likely to affect who votes and how they vote, but voter suppression efforts by Republicans in several states may mean votes from Democratic-leaning voters may not be counted, particularly among people of color. All of this gives Trump several advantages, even if he's not winning over voters as much as Biden. So now what? Well, if you haven't yet registered to vote, you should do so now. It can be done in a few minutes online, and it costs you nothing. If you haven't checked to see if you're registered, you can do that too. If you plan to do a mail-in ballot, you should request that today. Again, you can do that online and it costs nothing. Some states automatically mail you a ballot, while many states require you to request a ballot. And then you should make a plan to vote and vote early, whether that means you submit your mail-in ballot early or you vote in person early. I'll talk more about how to make your vote count in an upcoming video, as well as address some of the myths about voting this year and why your vote really does matter. But for now, I've included 2 links below that you should check out. The first is votesaveamerica.com/states, which has information on every state's rules and guidelines for voting, including how to register, how to request a mail-in ballot, how to vote in person, and FAQ about the voting process. The second is a resource from the Washington Post about which states are allowing mail-in voting, which ones automatically send you a ballot, and which ones require an excuse for mail-in voting. If you haven't started following Joe Biden on social media, I encourage you to do so and to share their videos and plans as they release them. I'll be talking more about what messages have been shown to be effective in persuading voters to choose Biden in an upcoming video, but for now, remember that positive messages about Joe and how his plans will help Americans are more effective than the negative messages about Trump, though you should keep sharing the negative news about Trump too. I also plan on doing videos about what the polls do and don't tell us about this race, what's happening in the battleground states, and key Senate races to be watching this election cycle. I'll probably look at how the debates are shaping the race and how the Supreme Court nomination in the Senate is impacting the race as well. Again, if there's anything else you'd like discussed or explained, please post those in the comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be safe, be engaged, and be sure to vote.